Famous people who passed away in 1760. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Conrad Weiser. He was born in November 1696 and he died in July 1760. His age was 63 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Pennsylvania Dutch pioneer who served as interpreter and diplomat between Pennsylvania colony and Native American nations. Primarily a farmer, he also worked as a tanner and later served as a soldier and judge. He lived part of the time for 6 years at Ephrata Cloister, a Protestant monastic community in Lancaster County. He played a key role in mediating relations between colonist and Native American tribes in colonial Pennsylvania. Mary Alexander. She was born in April 1693 and she died in April 1760. Her age was 67 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was an influential colonial-era merchant in New York City, one of New York's wealthiest women. Influential in business and charitable work, Mary's life was divided between caring for her growing family, continuing the Provost mercantile enterprises, and supporting her husband's political career. Mary played a pivotal role in the case of John Peter Zenger. She traveled to Philadelphia and successfully convinced prominent lawyer Andrew Hamilton to represent Zenger in his New York libel case. King George II of Great Britain. He was born in October 1683 and he died in October 1760. His age was 76 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was aneurysm. He was a king of Great Britain and Ireland, Duke of Brunswick, Lunenburg, Hanover, and a Prince Elector of Holy Roman Empire from June 1727 until his death in 1760. He oversaw a period of British expansion and stability, including early colonial successes. As a king from 1727, George exercised little control over British domestic policy, which was largely controlled by the Parliament of Great Britain. As elector, he spent 12 summers in Hanover, where he had more direct control over government policy. John Roos. He was born in May 1702 and he died in April 1760. His age was 57 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was battle injuries. He was a Royal Naval officer and privateer. He served during the King George War and the French-Indian War. He was also the senior naval officer on Nova Scotia station during Father Le Loutre War. His daughter Mary married Richard Bulkeley and is buried in the old burying ground in Halifax, Nova Scotia. He became a privateer during King George's War, part of the War of the Austrian Succession, carried out in the North America colonies of Britain and France. Charlotte Chalk. She was born in January 1713 and she died in April 1760. Her age was 47 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was winter disease. She was an English actress, playwright, novelist, and autobiographer. She began acting at the age of 17 in breeches roles and took a wearing male clothing off stage as well, performing and being publicly known as Charles Brown from 1741. Her later career and her writings were conducted under her own name, Mrs. Charlotte Chalk, and identified her as the daughter of Colley Cibber. She was known for her acting, gender-bending roles, and memoir detailing her unconventional life. Jean Leboeuf. He was born in March 1687 and he died in April 1760. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French historian, a key figure in documenting and analyzing the history of French religious architecture. He became known as one of his time's most cultivated minds. He mastered practically every branch of medieval learning and had a thorough knowledge of sources and the bibliography of his subjects. His learning was drawn from books, but as an archaeologist, he went on many expeditions across France on foot. Prince Moritz of Anhalt-Dessau. He was born in October 1712 and he died in April 1760. His age was 47 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German prince of the House of Escania from Anhalt-Dessau branch. He was also a Prussian soldier and general field marshal, a distinguished general who contributed to the modernization of the Persian army. He entered the Persian army in 1725 and saw his first service as a volunteer in the War of the Polish Succession. In the later years of the reign of Frederick William I of Prussia, he held important commands. He greatly distinguished himself, especially at the Battle of Hohenfriedberg in 1745. Anna Magdalena Bach. She was born in September 1701 and she died in February 1760. Her age was 58 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a German professional singer and the second wife of Johann Sebastian Bach, renowned for her musical talent and as a key supporter of her husband's compositions. She continued to sing professionally after her marriage. In one notable example of her continuing involvement with music, she returned to Cologne in 1729 to sing at Prince Leopold's funeral. Lawrence Shirley, 4th Earl Ferrers. He was born in August 1720 and he died in May 1760. His age was 39 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was an English nobleman, notable for being the last peer to be hanged following his conviction for murdering his steward. He was notorious for being the last British peer executed for murder. Ferrers had a family history of insanity, and from an early age, his behavior seemed to have been eccentric and his temper violent, though he was quite capable of managing his business affairs. Nikolaus Ludwig Zinzendorf. He was born in May 1700 and he died in May 1760. His age was 59 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German religious and social reformer, bishop of the Moravian Church, founder of the Herrnhuter Brudergemeinde, a Christian mission, pioneer, and a major figure of 18th century Protestantism. His work helped establish the Moravian Church and spread its teachings globally. He was notable for providing shelter for German-speaking Moravian exiles at Herrnhut, an effort that was influenced by Pietist ideas from the Lutheran faith. He was brought up in. Christoph Grobner. He was born in January 1683 and he died in May 1760. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German composer and harpsichordist of late Baroque music who was contemporary of Johann Sebastian Bach, Georg Philipp Telemann, and Georg Friedrich Handel, a prolific Baroque composer known for his instrumental and vocal compositions. In 1709, he accepted a post at the court of Hesse-Darmstadt, and in 1711, he became the court orchestra's Hofkapellmeister. He spent the rest of his career at the court of Hesse-Darmstadt, where his primary responsibilities were to provide music for the court chapel. Israel ben Eliezer. He was born in 1700 and he died in 1760. His age was 60 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Jewish mystic and healer who is regarded as the founder of Hasidic Judaism. A Baal Shem Tov is master of the good name, that is, one able to work miracles using the secret name of God. Other sources explain his sobriquet as arising from a reputation of being a saintly or superior miracle worker. Hence, he was given the nickname Baal Shem Tov, that is, the good Baal Shem. Joanna Elizabeth of Holstein-Gottorp. She was born in October 1712 and she died in May 1760. Her age was 47 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a member of the German House of Holstein-Gottorp, a princess consort of Anhalt-Zerbst by marriage, and the regent of Anhalt-Zerbst from 1747 to 1752 on behalf of her minor son, Frederick Augustus. She is best known as the mother of the Empress Catherine the Great of Russia. Her influence and ambitions shaped the future Empress of Russia. Her relationship with her eldest child remained strained. Antoine Cour. He was born in March 1696 and he died in June 1760. His age was 64 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French reformer called the Restorer of Protestantism in France. He was born in Languedoc. His parents were peasants, adherents of the Reformed Church, which was at time a target of state persecution. Following the 1685 Edict of Fontainebleau, he was ordained by Pierre Cortes at a synod in 1718. He founded a school for clergy and encouraged Paul Rabot to join the ministry of the church. Smart Lethuelier. He was born in November 1701 and he died in July 1760. His age was 58 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English antiquary. His work on British antiques helped lay the groundwork for future archaeological practices. He subsequently traveled in France, Italy, Germany, and throughout Britain, and developed a passion for the study and collection of antiques and fossils. He was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society in 1724, the Society of Antiquaries in 1725, and a member of Spalding Gentlemen's Society in 1733. Louis Gaudin. He was born in February 1704 and he died in September 1760. His age was 56 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French astronomer and member of the French Academy of Sciences. He worked in Peru, Spain, Portugal, and France, known for his measurement of the Earth's shape and contributions to the French Academy of Sciences. His astronomical tables in 1724 gave him reputation, and the French Academy of Sciences elected him as a pensionary member. He was commissioned to write a continuation of the history of the Academy. George Bowes. He was born in April 1701 and he died in September 1760. His age was 59 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English coal proprietor and Whig politician who sat in the House of Commons for 33 years from 1727 to 1760. His innovations in coal mining and local governance left a lasting impact on the region. He was rich and influential, largely on account of the coal which lay beneath his estates. In 1726, he was a founder of the Grand Alliance of Coal Owners, a cartel of the control of London coal trade. Nicolas de Sasse. He was born in 1733 and he died in October 1760. His age was 27 at the time of his death, and he was killed in battle. He was a captain of the French regiment Duvernay, whose celebrity depends on a single act of defiance, remembered as a French hero for sacrificing his life to alert his troops to an ambush, having entered a wood to reconnoiter it the night before the Battle of Closter Cappen in 1760. He was suddenly surrounded by enemy British soldiers. He was killed instantly, but in calling out defiantly, he saved his countrymen. Friederike Caroline Neuber. She was born in March 1697 and she died in November 1760. Her age was 63 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a German actress and theater director. She is considered one of the most famous actors and actor managers in the history of the German theater, influential in the development of modern German theater. She also worked to improve the social and artistic status of German actors and actresses, emphasizing naturalistic technique. She was influential in introducing Enlightenment ideals and reforms to the German stage. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.